In the early morning, Buddha walked with his disciples along a forest trail. Surrounded by birdsong and gentle sunlight, Ananda followed behind, his face heavy with doubt, each step weighed down by invisible burdens only he could feel. Buddha stopped beneath a towering Bodhi tree, inviting his disciples to gather around its shade for shared reflection. "Ananda," Buddha said softly, "your heart speaks through your silence. Share your thoughts so we may unburden them together." Ananda hesitated before sitting cross-legged on the ground, his gaze fixed on the earth beneath his trembling hands. "Master," Ananda began quietly, "I fear I lack the strength to fulfill my aspirations and achieve the goals I have envisioned." Buddha studied him carefully, his presence radiating calmness as he prepared to guide Ananda through his storm of doubt. "Have you seen the newborn sapling nearby?" Buddha asked, gesturing toward a fragile plant sprouting near the tree roots. "Yes, Master," Ananda replied, puzzled by Buddha's question. "It stands there, delicate and vulnerable to the world. When it emerged from the soil, was it mighty or fragile?" Buddha asked with a knowing look in his eyes. "Fragile, of course," Ananda answered, his voice tinged with curiosity and uncertainty about the lesson unfolding before him. "And yet it grows, each day stretching toward the sky, drawn by belief in its place under the sun," Buddha explained. The leaves above swayed gently, casting dappled shadows on the earth below. "Consider this, Sona," the Buddha began. "When one strikes a gong, does the sound endure forever?" Sona furrowed his brow, pondering the question before answering. "No, Master. Even the smallest sapling knows that growth begins with belief. It reaches upward despite storms or scorching sun," he said. Ananda lowered his head, the weight of his thoughts still lingering, but his understanding beginning to take root. Buddha knelt beside him, his hands resting on Ananda's shoulders as he sought to reach his troubled heart. "Ananda, doubt distorts your vision but does not diminish your potential. Believe in your capacity, as nature believes in its purpose." "I fear failure, Master," Ananda admitted, his voice trembling, revealing the fear that had consumed him for months. "Failure is a teacher," Buddha replied, his words steady as his gaze. "Each misstep refines your path, shaping you further. The sapling knows not if tomorrow brings rain or drought. Yet it stands firm, growing despite the uncertainties it faces." "I cannot overcome this fear alone," Ananda confessed, his vulnerability exposed like an open wound seeking healing. Buddha smiled gently, understanding the depth of human emotion and the strength required to confront one's inner struggles. Even the strongest roots draw nourishment from the soil surrounding them. You too can find support in those who care. "Master, how can I trust myself when doubt weighs heavier than belief?" Ananda asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Trust begins with acceptance of imperfections," Buddha explained, holding out his hand toward the sapling as the breeze stirred its leaves. "Just as the sapling cannot bend without the wind, so too you cannot learn without the trials life provides." The disciples exchanged glances, inspired by the evolving wisdom, as the sunlight filtered through branches and illuminated their faces. "Master, is belief truly so powerful?" Ananda asked, his brow furrowing as his heart grappled with the growing lesson. "Belief transcends limitations," Buddha answered, his voice resonating like the flowing water in the nearby stream. "The water flows around stones and obstacles, finding its way even when paths are blocked. Belief mirrors this perseverance." Ananda nodded, his doubts loosening their grip, though uncertainty still lingered at the edges of his thoughts. "Come, let us continue walking. Nature teaches with patience, and its lessons are revealed with each passing moment," Buddha instructed. The disciples rose and followed him, their steps united by the shared lessons that bridged their individual journeys. As they walked, Ananda felt the faint stirrings of change within him, his heart daring to hope despite his lingering fears. Buddha turned briefly, his gaze steady and reassuring, like the steadfast sun rising each day without fail. Remember, Ananda, belief is not absence of doubt but the decision to move forward despite its shadow, Buddha said. The words planted seeds of reflection in the minds of all who heard them, their meaning sinking deeper with each step. Sona sat quietly, his spirit lighter than it had been in many days. The Buddha closed his eyes once more, his breath steady and deep as he returned to meditation. The forest grew quieter, as if bowing to the wisdom that filled the space, honoring the sacred moment it witnessed. Each disciple felt the weight of their own thoughts shift, as belief began to find its way through the cracks. Ananda smiled faintly, the first hint of relief breaking through the clouds that had hovered above him for so long. The lesson continued, carried by their movements, as the horizon stretched endlessly with possibilities waiting to be discovered. Another day, the disciples accompanied Buddha into a village, where the air was filled with the aroma of clay and earth. The sound of a potter's wheel turning echoed through the alleys, drawing the group toward a workshop shaded by ancient trees. Buddha greeted the potter warmly, his voice calm and inviting, and requested permission to observe the craft of shaping clay. The potter, with hands weathered from years of labor, agreed and demonstrated his skill, molding a shapeless lump of clay. Ananda watched closely as the potter's hands moved with precision, transforming the clay into a vessel of remarkable beauty. Suddenly, the potter crushed the vessel back into a lump, his face untroubled by what seemed a destruction of effort. "Why did you destroy such a perfect creation?" Ananda asked, his voice filled with surprise and a hint of dismay. The potter smiled and said, "It was imperfect. To create true beauty and strength, it must be shaped and reshaped repeatedly." Buddha turned to Ananda, his eyes reflecting the wisdom cultivated through countless encounters with life's profound teachings. "Ananda, do you see the lesson within the potter's work?" Buddha asked, his tone inviting reflection rather than imposing answers. Ananda hesitated before answering. "I see the care and effort required, but I struggle to understand why imperfection justifies its destruction." Buddha gestured for the disciples to gather closer, ensuring each could hear the wisdom he was about to impart. The clay is not destroyed but returned to its essence, ready to be reshaped into something stronger, more enduring. Buddha explained. "There was once a sparrow," the Buddha began, "who lived in the shadow of a grand banyan tree. Each day, it looked at the larger birds with admiration and despair, wishing for plumage like theirs. Master, what if one fails repeatedly and feels unable to withstand the shaping?" Ananda asked, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "Each failure is but a step in the process of transformation." Buddha replied, "The clay does not resist its destiny." The potter demonstrated again, shaping the clay into a new form, his hands steady despite the imperfections he encountered. "See how the potter accepts imperfection as part of the process," Buddha said, his voice steady and filled with clarity. "The fire of belief hardens the vessel, just as self-belief fortifies the soul against doubt and despair," Buddha added. Ananda lowered his gaze, the weight of doubt still present but beginning to yield to the possibility of self-belief. "Master, how can one cultivate belief when failure feels overwhelming? Consuming hope like fire devours dry leaves?" Ananda asked. "Belief is not absence of failure but the courage to rise each time we are reshaped by life." Buddha answered. The potter placed the finished vessel aside, its form elegant yet strong, a testament to the process it endured. Buddha picked up the vessel and held it before his disciples, its simplicity speaking volumes about resilience and transformation. Within this vessel lies a story of struggle and perseverance, Much like the journeys of our own lives, Buddha said, the clay knows not what form it will take, yet it trusts the hands that shape it. Buddha continued, trust the process of life. Ananda, each trial refines your spirit, strengthening your ability to achieve your higher purpose. Ananda nodded slowly. The seeds of understanding planted within him, though he knew the journey required further cultivation. The disciples exchanged thoughtful glances, each pondering how the lesson resonated with their own lives and personal struggles. The potter smiled at Buddha, understanding that his craft had served as a bridge for sharing universal truths with the disciples. Buddha thanked the potter warmly, his words filled with gratitude for the wisdom and beauty found in even the simplest tasks. As they left the village, the disciples walked in silence, their thoughts turning inward, seeking the lessons hidden within themselves. Ananda walked beside Buddha, feeling the warmth of his presence and the gentle encouragement embedded in his words. Master, is it possible to reshape oneself entirely, even after years of perceived failures? Ananda asked, his voice uncertain. Transformation is always possible, Ananda, for the essence of who you are remains. No matter how often life reshapes you, each moment carries the potential for change. Like the potter's wheel turning endlessly, offering new beginnings, Buddha said. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the path. As if reflecting the length of their internal journeys, Buddha stopped near a stream, its water flowing gently over stones, carving them smooth over time without resistance or haste. Do you see how the water flows around obstacles, finding its path without losing its essence? Buddha asked the group. Yes, Master, Ananda replied, feeling the connection between the flowing water and the lessons etched in his heart that day. Be like the water, Ananda, steadfast in your essence but adaptable to the challenges that shape your journey, Buddha said. The disciples sat by the stream, the sound of water merging with the wisdom shared, creating a harmony within the moment. Ananda smiled faintly, his doubt not entirely gone but transformed, now mingling with hope and the budding strength of belief. Buddha's words lingered in the air, carried by the breeze. As the disciples absorbed the profound simplicity of the day's lesson, the group rose as twilight deepened, their steps lighter, their hearts uplifted by the shared wisdom that transcended any single moment. Each disciple carried the lesson within, a vessel filled with the promise of transformation and the power of belief. Another day, the disciples gathered by a serene lake, its surface reflecting the vast sky and the golden hues of sunrise. Buddha walked silently to the water's edge, his calm demeanor inviting the disciples to join him in quiet contemplation. Ananda stood nearby, his heart conflicted, the teachings of previous days swirling with questions yet to be answered fully. Buddha gestured for the disciples to sit, the soft rustling of their robes blending with the gentle ripples of the lake. Ananda, Buddha said, his voice steady as the stillness around them. What do you see when you look into the water? Ananda leaned forward, peering into the clear lake, and replied, I see my reflection, Master, yet it feels distant and unclear. Buddha nodded thoughtfully and picked up a small pebble, holding it gently in his palm before speaking again. This pebble represents doubt, Buddha said, casting it into the lake. Watching as ripples spread across the once placid surface, Ananda watched the ripples expand, distorting the reflection of his face. The once clear image now fragmented and fleeting. See how the surface changes, disturbed by the pebble, yet the depths of the lake remain untouched, Buddha explained. Doubt disturbs the surface of your mind, yet the essence of who you are lies undisturbed beneath, Buddha continued. Ananda frowned slightly, his thoughts racing, seeking clarity amid the metaphorical ripples that mirrored his own inner turmoil. Master, How can one see clearly when doubt clouds everything, making even the reflection of oneself appear distorted? He asked. Buddha's gaze remained steady, his presence as grounding as the earth beneath the disciples' feet, his wisdom awaiting expression. Clarity comes not from banishing doubt but from recognizing that it holds no true power over your deeper self, Buddha said. Drop another pebble into the water, Ananda, and observe closely what happens to both the surface and the depths, Buddha instructed. Ananda obeyed, selecting a small pebble and tossing it into the lake, watching as new ripples joined those already present. The ripples meet and fade, yet the lake remains whole, its deeper waters unaffected by the disturbances above, Buddha explained. Doubt may create ripples, but belief in yourself is the stillness that persists beneath those fleeting waves, Buddha added. The disciples listened intently, their own reflections shimmering in the water, each interpreting the lesson through their personal struggles. Master, what if the ripples grow larger, overwhelming the surface entirely, leaving no room for stillness? Ananda questioned earnestly. Even amidst chaos, the depths remain untouched, Buddha replied. Stillness exists within, waiting to be rediscovered through deliberate practice and faith. Faith in what, Master? In oneself, or in something greater than oneself? Ananda asked, his voice filled with curiosity and urgency. Faith in both, for they are not separate. Believing in your connection to the greater whole strengthens belief in yourself, Buddha answered. Buddha rose and walked into the shallows of the lake, his presence blending harmoniously with the serene natural surroundings. Come, Ananda, and step into the water with me. Feel the connection between your body, the lake, and the earth, Buddha urged. Ananda hesitated before stepping into the cool water, its touch grounding him, calming the restless energy coursing through his thoughts. Buddha guided him further into the lake, the ripples from their movements merging with those still lingering from the pebbles. Do you see how your steps create ripples that reach beyond you, connecting to the movements of others? Buddha asked. Ananda nodded, realizing that even his smallest actions influenced the larger whole, a truth both humbling and empowering. Just as your actions create ripples, so too does your belief in yourself send waves of possibility into the world, Buddha said. Master, how can belief create change when the ripples of doubt feel so persistent and overpowering? Ananda asked again. Persistence is not power. The most lasting transformations come from the steady presence of belief. Undeterred by temporary disturbances, Buddha replied. The lake reflects what is above, but it also holds within it the source of its stillness, Buddha continued. Ananda closed his eyes, feeling the gentle rhythm of the lake around him, the water a teacher in its quiet wisdom. Stillness is the foundation of clarity, Buddha said. When you find stillness, you can see beyond doubt and recognize your true self. The disciples watched as Buddha and Ananda stood in the lake, the scene mirroring the teaching's depth and beauty. Ananda opened his eyes and said, Master, I feel the ripples of the water and my thoughts becoming quieter, more aligned. Buddha smiled, sensing the transformation beginning to take root within his disciples' heart and mind. Steady as the morning light, growth begins with awareness, Ananda, and awareness strengthens belief, allowing you to rise above the shadows of uncertainty, Buddha said. Ananda bowed his head, gratitude swelling within him, the clarity he sought slowly emerging from the depths of his being. Return to the shore now, and reflect on what you've learned today. Remember, the lake's essence mirrors your own, Buddha instructed. The disciples followed Ananda as he waded back to the shore, their footsteps creating soft ripples in the clear water. As they sat together on the lake's edge, the tranquility of the surroundings deepened the lessons shared and absorbed. The sun climbed higher, its rays illuminating the lake, a reminder of the light that exists even within moments of doubt. Ananda turned to Buddha and said, "Master, I will practice seeing beyond the ripples, trusting the stillness within me. That is the path." "Ananda," Buddha replied, his voice filled with gentle encouragement, "belief begins with the decision to see." The disciples sat in silence, their reflections shimmering alongside their growing understanding of the power of belief and stillness. The day unfolded with renewed purpose, each disciple carrying the teachings like ripples extending outward, touching the infinite expanse of life. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.